Look at all that blacktop there. So that is good. We are making some progress. Southeastern part of the state, still a little bit slow going. You're going to just have to stay home until the travel ban is officially lifted. All right, the team coverage continues. Don't go to Eyewitness News. We'll be right back.
12 o'clock on this Tuesday afternoon, and our live coverage of Blizzard Colbie continues. Of course, we have crews all over the state.
And let's take a look at the situation outside. You're looking at Waterbury, Middletown, Hartford, and New London. New London bearing the brunt of the storm. You can see the snow is still coming down in some places. It's winds are out there. We're going to see how much more snow we have to contend with in a moment. Meanwhile, the governor is about to give us an update from the Emergency Operations Center in Hartford. And we're going to take you there as soon as Governor Malloy starts to speak.
Yeah, but first this afternoon, we want to turn to meteorologist Mark Dixon and Scott Haney here as well with the very latest on the situation here. Scott?
Or Mark. Scott's right here. He's nearby. He's on the computer. We're inundated with pictures and emails and snowfall reports, so we thank all of our loyal viewers for sending those into weather3 at WFSB.com. Want to get you caught up on the situation. We still have a blizzard warning in effect for the state, but this will likely be dropped very, very soon as the blizzard conditions clearly are no longer in effect. The conditions are improving. The peak, the worst of the storm is now behind us. So we're going to keep you, of course, abreast of this situation as it evolves in the coming hours. But early warning pinpoint Doppler clearly showing that the snow is breaking up, nowhere near the coverage or intensity as we were dealing with very early this morning. We were talking about the peak of the storm between midnight and noon, and that certainly has played out rather well with regard to the timing. And we were discussing, of course, in the last day or two, how snow bands were going to be setting up here across Connecticut, and where those bands were to develop, that is where the highest totals would be achieved. And that has certainly been the case throughout the eastern half of Connecticut. What you're seeing right now, light to moderate snow throughout the eastern part of our state along the 395 corridor, and still some snow shower activity as well in the northwest hills. But we've actually had some reports of the clouds breaking up and some partial sunshine at a time, and those visibilities are greatly improving as well, especially where we've seen that break along the 91 corridor right through central Connecticut. New Haven now up to an 8-mile visibility, 7-mile at Windsor Locks, 5 in Meriden, but where we still have that snow shower activity in the northwestern part of the state, still a quarter of a mile or less. The governor is approaching the podium, so we're going to get to him right now.
With state officials. That followed a 10:30 call with municipal officials talking about assistance that we may eventually be able to offer those communities as we can complete the clearing of our state roads. Much of the heavier snow has already passed through most of Connecticut. We expect some more moderate bands to pass through during the next couple of hours, but we are through the worst of the storm. The state will resume normal business operations to the extent possible as residents dig out from the storm. Third shift, non-essential state employees should not report to work this evening, but all state employees should report to work as scheduled tomorrow. I want to thank Connecticut residents again for staying off the road since the travel ban went into effect. Since the ban went into effect, we have only had 15 accidents on our state roads. That is remarkable. Under slight storm conditions, we could expect upwards of several hundred accidents, and so the system has worked because people of Connecticut have responded. DOT plow crews are continuing to work around the clock. They are beginning to provide roads a second treatment after clearing them of snow. Therefore, I am announcing that we will be lifting the statewide travel ban as of 2 p.m. Residents traveling to Massachusetts, or anyone traveling to Massachusetts or Rhode Island, should be advised that their travel bans are still in effect for most counties in their states. While the ban is lifted here in Connecticut, you should assume that this is a normal storm condition or snow condition, so we're not saying that the roads that we want you to get on the roads. They are, still will have be as they would be in a normal storm, as opposed to a storm the likes of which we have just come through. We are, on the other hand, we understand that people need to get to places and get to jobs and the like. There are parts of the state that may have reached record snowfall, particularly in the northeastern portion of Connecticut. The EOC will remain open to monitor and provide necessary assistance assistance to cities and towns that they may request. We have a couple of other announcements. Metro North will resume Sunday service as of 1 p.m. Full service will resume tomorrow, and parking lots will be cleared for commuters, we are informed. Amtrak currently remains closed north of New York, but will likely resume service tomorrow, we are told. State bus service will resume tomorrow morning, and please check with your local schools on closures for tomorrow, as well as with state and private universities. With that, I'll take your questions.
Are there any sections of eastern Connecticut, especially northeastern Connecticut, that are closer to Worcester County in Massachusetts that are having special difficulty that you know of?
Our main highways, and that's why we're saying that we'll open the travel ban at 2 o'clock, will be passable. What speed that's passable at remains to be a question. Right now, traffic on some of those roads is very, very slow, even for our own vehicles. However, by 2 o'clock, we believe we'll have product on all roads, on all of the major roads.
What would happen if you were going northbound on 395 when you got to Worcester?
I would recommend that you check with, if you're trying to get to Massachusetts or trying to get to Rhode Island, their bans are still in place. Massachusetts has lifted, including major entrance points from Connecticut, remain under a ban. The same is true of Rhode Island. Right. Yep.
Are you surprised that there weren't more power outages with this storm?
I am gratified that there were not more power outages. I think there are a few reasons. Number one, this was not a kind of snow that was sticking to two wires to help bring them down, and certainly didn't coat the wires with ice. So that made a difference. We've had a very aggressive tree trimming program over the last few years. That seems to have paid off, as well, as limbs did not come into contact with those wires. So I think we're learning and we're getting better at this stuff as we go along.
Do other states need our help, as I don't know, New York?
Well, I don't think New York does. What we'll do is, I did have a conversation with municipal officials. We've have had several requests, which we'll respond to, particularly after we finish cleaning the state roads under our responsibility.
The only reason I ask, I know that CL&P brought in quite a bit of crews from out of the state of Canada, and I don't know if they need them all.
In fact, some of those were stopped and have already been diverted with respect to that. What we've heard about Massachusetts is, for instance, all of Nantucket is without power, and that there are about 35,000 folks without power in Massachusetts, as opposed to about 1,500 as a result of one outage in Greenwich, Connecticut, which took place at 10:34 and is being addressed as we speak.
Are any additional resources needed in the eastern parts of Connecticut since they've been hit the hardest, or are they doing just fine as it is?
No, I think that they're going to need help, and we've had discussions with New London, for instance, and Pomfret, for instance, and we will make resources available to them once we complete our road clearance of our obligated roads, so we're in correspondence with them as we speak.
What were the 400 National Guard personnel doing, and when will they be released?
Actually, I think some of the National Guard folks may respond to both Pomfret and New London, and they were basically stationed around the state to be in a position to do rescue, to do emergency response if the storm had required that. At some point, that force will start to be drawn down once we understand where they're not needed. They're clearly not needed in portions of the state at this point.
So it was mainly public safety as opposed to road clearing and that kind of thing?
Mainly public safety as opposed to road clearing. However, we have a couple of payloaders that may be used to help some of the communities most adversely impacted.
So Petronaut says there's no issue with the electric line.
Apparently, they have checked the catenary system, and this will be an electric run.
So tomorrow you say we're fully back to normal, or we're 90% back to normal, or where will we be?
I don't know. I think the best way to put that is that I assume that there'll be a number of school systems that will be closed, for instance, and there may be some private and public universities that don't open or don't open on time. On the other hand, I think our main road system will be operational, and I think that commerce will begin, a return to normal. That's certainly what we're looking for. There may be some complexes in state government that, for whatever reason, can't open, more likely to do with plowing of parking lots. But my assumption is that state workers in a very high percentage of the locations will be responding to a place that has been prepared for them to go to work in.
You're opening the roads at 2. Why aren't you having the third shift report for state employees? I mean, obviously, commercial businesses who have people come in at 3 can do it.
Right, because I can't vouch for the passability of all roads. We know that with respect to our major highways, they'll be passable by that time with a second treatment of product on those surfaces. And so I'm just being cognizant of the fact that there are portions of our state that aren't as far along as others. Secondly, I should say that there are very few non-essential employees that come in on the third shift. Right. It's a relatively small number. It's a tiny fraction of the workforce. Okay, so just understanding that people have to get their driveways out, and local streets are probably not as far along as state roads are. We're just being
open for business at 3 if they want.
All right, you've been listening to Governor Malloy speak live as he updates the state again. The big news coming out of this that he says a travel ban will be lifted at 2 p.m., which is what you can see right now. Doesn't mean that the roads are going to be great. So you may not want to rush out onto them, but you won't get a ticket for $92 for going out as of 2 p.m.
He did say as well that the Emergency Operations Center will stay open at least throughout the rest of the day today. Obviously, they have crews all over the place, CLMP crews from out of town here to help us out if necessary. So they're really going to take the afternoon right now to evaluate the situation and decide what's next.
And also, if you have family or you were thinking of visiting in Massachusetts or Rhode Island, as he mentioned, those travel bans are still in effect there. Some pretty rough spots where they were hearing, I don't know if it's been restored yet, but at one point in Nantucket, the entire island had no power. There were a lot of spin-outs and accidents on the Mass Pike.
Cape Cod dealing with blowing conditions as well right now. And I do believe we want to check in with Mark on the very latest for us. Obviously, the governor interrupted you before, Mark.
And that's absolutely fine. We're okay with that. I will pause for the governor. But I will pick up right now to bring you some of the snowfall totals. It gave me time to collect the totals and organize them. So here are some of the top end amounts. Putnam, 28 inches, so over 2 feet of snow there, nearly 2 feet from Waterford. Mansfield at 22.5, same from Hampton. Danielson at 22.3 inches, and Colchester at 22 inches. Hebron also 22, same from Groton. Marlborough at 21.5. 21 inches from Norwich, and Tallinn 19.5. So a considerable amount of snow falling throughout a majority of our state, especially central and eastern Connecticut. We've got more numbers that we're compiling. We'll bring you those a little bit later in the broadcast. Also, since the top of the noon show, the blizzard warning for Hartford, Tallinn, Windham County has now been downgraded to winter storm warning status. So this offices surrounding Connecticut eventually will likely continue to downgrade and shorten the duration of time on these. Just want to do a little housekeeping on that for you. And with regard to early warning pinpoint Doppler, again, still some snow falling up and down the 395 corridor in eastern Connecticut, and also some snow shower activity in the Northwest Hills. And visibilities, again, they are improving. And you look at the temperatures with the wind that is sustained between 15 and 25 miles an hour. There's a look at the actual air temperature, teens and 20s, but feeling like the single digits across Connecticut. So we'll continue to track the situation. We'll talk more about Futurecast, what it holds for the next 24 hours. A storm before the week is over, then another storm for late in the weekend. That's in the 7-day forecast. In the meantime, over to Nicole Nalepa with the latest on the situation on roads.
All right. Well, here's the situation, Mark, and you may have just heard the governor say this. The travel ban is still in effect on all state and local roads until 2 o'clock. That is when the travel ban will be completely lifted. And right now, the governor was talking about putting down some more treatment on on the road. That's why it's going to take another hour and a half, 2 hours. They want to make sure you're safe, and the DOT trucks and the contractors have been working very hard out there. I've been seeing them throughout the morning in my traffic cameras. So that's another reason why we want you to stay off the roads until 2 o'clock. Now, a few updates for you. If you're curious about Metro North, here are the services that are still suspended. Connecticut Transit, that will resume once the travel ban is lifted. So Connecticut Transit will resume at 2 o'clock. Shoreline, East, and Amtrak, however, we're told service is still suspended until further notice. It will most likely resume tomorrow. Metro North New Haven line resumes at 1 o'clock, and here are a list of the times there for you. Those are the first trains that are leaving those areas: New Haven, Stamford, Waterbury, New Canaan, and also Danbury. So I'll have all that information posted on WFSB.com and Facebook and Twitter. Connecticut Transit bus service, as I said, will lift once the travel ban is lifted. And just a quick reminder, you need to remove the snow from your vehicles completely. This is the state law. It's illegal to have snow piled on your car. So the hood, the trunk, the roof. If not, you face a $75 fine. And of course, it's a safety hazard for those on the road. So just be considerate of other drivers. That's what I meant to say. All right, we'll send it back to you guys. Alrighty, thank you, Nicole.
You've been up a long time, Nicole. It's okay.
Yeah. And our team coverage continues now. Southeastern Connecticut has just been pummeled by Blizzard Colbie. Certainly, they got the biggest snowfall totals, and they still have the situations that they're dealing with driving.
Yeah, it looks that way right now. Channel 3 New London Bureau Chief Kevin Hogan live with the mobile newsroom in Mystic with more on the situation. Obviously, snow coming down still right now, Kevin.
Well, a few moments ago, I was going to tell you, well, the situation is clear off the road. That's just a general message, probably for every community. But in Norwich, if you have your home is heating with a gas furnace, clear the vents, the intake vents as well as the emission vent. That way you won't have any problems with your heating system in your houses. Also clear the vent to the gas meter itself. That will make it run more efficient. And right now we've got about 20 inches here. I know in Groton they have about 18 inches, and in Willimantic from Corporal Parizo, he says they've got about 18 to 20 inches up in Willimantic. And if you park your cars out there, they will be ticketed and towed in Willimantic.
Well, Kevin, folks obviously have to be careful, especially if they rely on public transportation. We know the governor was just saying a few minutes ago that Amtrak looks like they're going to shoot for tomorrow to be back in full service.
Yeah, so Kevin, if you're still there, I know you're down there, if you're hearing anything specific yet about that?
Well, one of my sources, rail sources, tells me just a little while ago that there is a test engine, a diesel engine coming from Boston heading towards New Haven and New York. That's testing the rails right now, testing the tracks, make sure they're okay. Amtrak officials will be meeting, the regional officials will be meeting and making that decision sometime today, but they hope to have everything up and running service tomorrow. Mark and Kara?
Alrighty, thank you so much, Kevin. Stay warm and safe out there. That goes for everyone. And if you want to know what's going on at any time, don't forget you can text weather to 38324. Download our app to your smartphone or any of your devices. We will keep you informed no matter where you are.
Keep it right here on Channel 3 for continuing coverage of Blizzard Colbie.